Tengo una pregunta. Why do you want to learn Spanish? Think about it, because at the end of the video, I want you to remember why is the reason that you want to learn Spanish. But before we get into that, let's talk about tip number 4 of 5. Never end a sentence with a preposition. So if you're like me, they taught you in school never to end a sentence with a preposition. You know, those pesky words like of, from, to, about, around. And I remember when I was in school, always trying to find a way not to end my sentence with a preposition, and sometimes giving up, saying, this just is not right. Almost as if the person who invented English was just trying to come up with rules to play tricks on us. Enough so to prompt none other than Winston Churchill to famously quip, "This is the sort of nonsense up with which I will not put." But in Spanish, they are definitely serious about this rule. But before we go on, I want to invite you to go back and watch the first 2 parts of 5 ways to speak better Spanish. There's part 1, there's part 2, and this is our last part. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more expert tips on speaking Spanish better. In English, it's very common for us to say, "Where are you from?" In Spanish, from where are you? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you going to? In Spanish, it's always going to be ¿a dónde vas? In English, it's very common to say who for. Many times we would say for whom, which is correct in Spanish. ¿Para quién? In English, we might say who with. In Spanish, it's always con quién. Here's an example that's a little bit longer in English. I don't know what he is talking about. In Spanish, we would never say, I don't know what he is talking about. We would always say, no sé nada de lo que está hablando. Notice that we use that de before the sentence ends. No sé nada de lo que está hablando. No sé nada de lo que está hablando. We have a lot to talk about. In Spanish, tenemos mucho de qué hablar. Tenemos mucho de qué hablar. We might ask where somebody works. What bank do you work at? What school do you work at? ¿En cuál banco trabajas? ¿En cuál escuela trabajas? We might ask, how much should I ask for? In Spanish, ¿por cuánto debo pedir? ¿Por cuánto debo pedir? Never end the sentence with a preposition. In reality, it would sound very unnatural and a little strange to put the preposition at the end of the sentence. Muy gringo. Which brings us to tip number 5. Why did you start learning Spanish? To better your job opportunities, to talk to your neighbors, to have more ministry opportunities, to travel. Maybe you just love languages. You have to remember this to get in the right mindset so you can keep going. You're definitely going to come to these places in your language learning process where you feel like you've plateaued, you feel like you can't learn anymore, you want to throw up your hands, you want to throw in the towel, you want to stop, pero no te rindas. You are learning step by step. A lot of people will sit back and cross their arms and say, I can't learn anymore, and say, I don't know how to learn anymore, it's so hard. Don't give up. Keep going forward. Keep looking for other opportunities to learn. Pay attention to how people express themselves. Language is not about putting English words into Spanish phrases. Language is not about saying English things in a Spanish way. It's about learning how to express yourself in a different way, a new way of processing information and a new way of thinking about the world that you had not understood before. It is going to be hard, it's going to be tough, but you can do it. You're learning Spanish because you love it. You're learning Spanish because you love the people, you love the culture, you want to communicate with other people, and you want to better the lives of yourself and other people through language. And you have to remember to have the correct attitude. So what's the correct attitude? Language is about exerting yourself, taking responsibility for your own learning. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, my teacher didn't teach me that. They didn't teach us anything in class. They didn't teach us that. They didn't teach us that. Well, now it's your turn to teach yourself. Create opportunities for yourself to learn that language. Put yourself in circumstances where you're going to talk with other people and communicate. Have that confidence. You're going to make mistakes, but don't sweat it. You know you're going to make mistakes. It's all part of learning. But instead of accepting those mistakes, you're going to check yourself and say, next time I'm going to try harder not to make that mistake. Next time I'm not going to make this mistake. I know I said it wrong, but it doesn't matter. Next time I'm going to say it correctly. So check yourself. Understand what you said. Understand what you said that's good. Understand what you're saying that's wrong, and you need to correct it. But don't get overconfident. Don't say, hey, I'm so good. I know all there is to know. Learning a second language, even learning our first language, we're never gonna know all there is to know about that language. Overconfidence is pride. But you know what else is pride? Lack of self-esteem. I don't know how I'm gonna speak Spanish better. I can't do it. I'm not capable of going forward. This also is pride, because you know what? You are thinking more about yourself than you are thinking about others. So remember why you started learning Spanish: because you love the language, you love the people, and you want to make a difference in this world.